What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gin College Podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, here with our college sports insider, Cody Almasy. Cody, how are you doing today, man?
Doing great, man. It's a great time of the year. Getting towards the holidays, school's getting out. Just a festive, spirited time, man. Getting into bowl season, one of my favorite sports little segments of the year, and can't wait to cut it up with you, man.
Yeah, it's the dream team, the dream duo here. Obviously, we're missing Taven, Musa, Chuck. We love them dearly, but they are not with us tonight. They will be here as we draw closer to the college football playoff and things of that nature. Once we get closer to those games, we're more or less in a lull period. We're not, but we are because it feels that way. The main focus, everyone's focus, is on the college football playoff. We know that. But we got to focus on college basketball, which is going to be the next focus going forward into the new year. And we also have bowl season, which starts basically right now. So we're going to have some fun with that here in a little bit. But we've got a great slate for you guys tonight. Looking forward to it, getting after the college sports that have happened and the different breaking news stories that have happened. And we're going to chop it up right here, right now on the GCP. So I want to thank everyone for joining us either via video or on audio. So let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about the Army-Navy game. This was the game that was basically at the forefront this past weekend. Cody, can you give me a little bit of insight on what made this game so special and why it was historic?
Yeah, always a standalone game. It's the end of the college football season after championship Saturday. Just Army and Navy duking it out, and you either two parties. You either love it or you hate it. And you know us at the Gen Sports Network, we love it. It's just pure man football is what it is. These dudes, they're not playing for NFL aspirations. They're just playing for their country, playing for their respective military branch, and it provides a unique entertainment experience. And just to kind of exemplify what I'm saying, both teams, Navy was 1 for 4 for 25 passing yards, one tutty, and Army, they were 2 for 12, 28 yards, no tutty. So it's just all ground and pound, punch you in the face, special teams football, and we got extra blessed this year with the first ever overtime, and it went to two OTs, and it also hit the over for the first time, 16 contests, and of course, I bet the under. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles in sports betting. You think something's a lock. DraftKings, they even offer a boost plus 100 to the over or the under. I think it's a lock to go under. It would have been if it wasn't a historic game went to overtime. And there were two touchdowns scored instantaneously once we got to that first overtime. So a little bit of fireworks or firing some extra cannons in overtime. And Army came away with the win, and it was a fun one.
Yeah, I always love watching this game because it's so electric. It's so there's so much fireworks happening. You see the servicemen and women that are in their their coats, they're in their garb, they're wearing whatever they have to wear, and they're wearing they're wearing their uniforms basically for that environment. They're getting hyped, they're getting after it. It's like the same atmosphere, I would say, times three that you get in any other rivalry game. But I think it just has that little bit extra amount of fire and fierceness because you're talking about two military branches that represent the United States, and it's an exciting game. It's an exciting game to watch regardless of what camp you're rooting for. And this game did not fail to disappoint, and it did a great job. It did a great job at being entertaining for the people. And I was at the edge of my seat watching this game, and Army pulled away with the dub in overtime with a field goal in two overtimes. Don't get it twisted. So big win for Army, and way for them to settle the score there, ending the streak for Navy there, and it's exciting to see. Always a good game, and that kind of took the show last weekend because we didn't really have much else. We had the Heisman race, which we'll talk about here in a second, And, obviously Selection Sunday talking about who's going to get what bowl game, who's going where. The CFP is locked in now. So a lot of things aside from the gridiron, away from the gridiron happening this past weekend. But we were blessed with that one, with Army pulling away against Navy 20-17. Big game, big matchup, and big win for Army. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Heisman Trophy voting. Obviously, everybody knows by now. Hopefully they do. Caleb Williams came away with the Heisman Trophy in 2022. I guess, Cody, obviously the Heisman race and the Heisman voting process, it's going to, utilize a lot of different aspects on and off the field, obviously, but it's not black and white statistics. It's not what's on stat sheets. It's not how many passing touchdowns or how many rushing touchdowns you had. There's a lot more that goes into it. And you have to be a fan favorite. You have to be someone that is, that is appreciated amongst the league, and that is, someone that is utilized and someone that is looked up at. So I guess, what can you tell me about Caleb Williams winning the Heisman Trophy and why it happened and why other players might not have been in contention?
Yeah, it's a popularity contest. I know that is said a lot, and this definitely speaks to it. Is almost a for sure thing, even before they lost to Utah. I don't know if it was his performance of playing injured there for a moment and really just getting the media, because there's a lot of different factors that go into deciding it, and there's 929 total votes. 870 of those votes are media, and I mean, nothing against those 870 media members, but I just don't think all of them are doing the due diligence, the research that is required to pick the true most outstanding player. But he did have a great season, Caleb Williams. I can't hate on him too much. I hated his manicure of the fuck Utah, but that's not really taken into consideration. So I guess I'll give it up to you boys. Let me know what you have to think about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got to welcome the college football head analyst, head insider, head columnist, whatever you want to call him, Sam Vitale. Sam, it's a blessing to have you on the show, man. Thank you for joining us in the 11th hour. I'm so happy to have you on here. Sam's going to be a face on the GCP a lot more going forward. He's a college football fanatic, and it shows. It shows. You can see his articles on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com. Sam, how are we doing today, bro? What can you tell me? Tell me something good.
Hey, John, I'm doing well, man. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. Long time coming. I've been listening to the show. Love the show. I'm a big fan, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Wow, fellow Michigan Wolverine, just add him to the roster because I feel like the numbers are stacked against me. No matter who I bring on into the GSN family, we're always going to be outnumbered by the Michigan Wolverines. He's wearing
Big
the hockey
family,
jersey
man.
there. I love it. I love it. And it's crazy because I was thinking about Michigan specifically, and we're going to get a little off track here, but I asked myself, I'm like, okay, if I have to pick my favorite college football head coach as it stands right now, and I never thought I would say this ever, but I was looking at a bunch of old Harbaugh videos and looking at, interviews back in like the 90s when he comes back to the university and they're asking him, oh man, how are we feeling this year again about, Ohio State, and he's back on campus, and it's just the electricity and the history that Jim Harbaugh has with the University of Michigan, and just how much he embodies the culture, the Wolverine culture. It's just I had to pick Harbaugh. He's my favorite head coach in college football right now, and especially the run that they're on. I mean, I want them to win it all. It's kind of crazy, and I think State fans will disown me when I say that, but I'm willing to accept that.
I'll tell you, the interesting about Harbaugh and the run that he's on is, the trajectory that he's on right now is completely different than what he had been showing his first, I don't know, I want to say 5 years at U of M. The culture has completely changed. It's almost like Jim Harbaugh died after the 2020 season, and we're dealing with a completely new guy. Um, I've got one guy that I grew up with. I played ball with him as a kid. He actually played tight end for U of M for 4 years. He never saw a snap, which, it's not it's nothing against him, but I mean, playing behind guys like Jake Butt and Sean McCune as a tight end, it's kind of hard to get a snap there. But he described the culture to me there. And, under Jim Harbaugh, from 2015 to 2020, it was different back then. He said the leadership was different. People didn't respect Harbaugh the way they do now. He even said the folks that were and the players that were appointed as leaders weren't even respected the way they are now. Like, and again, not a diss, but like Shea Patterson, not the same guy as JJ McCarthy, not even the same guy as Cade McNamara last year. I mean, it's just a different team and a different culture right now than it has been since the Harbaugh era started.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I guess, Cody, would you add anything to that and to the culture, Michigan Wolverines culture as it stands and as it did stand back probably pre-2020 compared to now?
Yeah, I mean, he said it pretty well there. He said it's like Jim Harbaugh died. I don't know. Maybe there's enough evidence for a conspiracy theory out there that maybe it's a Jim Harbaugh clone post COVID. I don't know, but it's so much different because at the beginning of the show, if you go back to GCP episode 1 before last year started, and we had a big game looming against Washington, I was calling for a change, a head coach, and now I wouldn't want anybody else in the country being the head coach of my football team. He has done everything that he said he was going to do. It took him a little bit longer than anticipated, and there were some bumps and some fumbles along the way. But now that we're here, man, it feels great.
I will admit, as a Michigan homer and a Wolverine slappy, I was one of the first guys out there to say Jim Harbaugh's not the answer. We've got to pick somebody. I used to get really frustrated by people saying, who's going to replace Jim Harbaugh? I said, I don't care. And, looking back at it, I'm glad that I'm not in a leadership position because I was dead wrong. It takes a long time to build culture. It really does. I mean, you can recruit as well as anybody else out there, but it's about building culture, right? I think that's a lot of what Ohio State fans are dealing with right now with Ryan Day. I'm hearing a lot from their side right now saying, before they got the college playoff bid, they were all thinking about a Rose Bowl. And I heard a lot of fans talking about, well, maybe if they lose the Rose Bowl, we can get rid of Ryan Day. Well, how unfair is that? The only team he's lost to, really, I mean, he did lose to Oregon last year in the first game, but the only other team he's lost to is Michigan. I think he's 45-5 since
Yeah,
taking over. I mean, that's
yeah.
insane. That's insane. So to say that you want to coach out that quickly is just nuts. I mean, the culture building. Whoops, my bedtime. The culture building takes years. Jim Harbaugh is the best example of that. I mean, we're hearing a lot of that, John. You're a big State fan. We're hearing a lot of that with
With Mel?
with Mel Tucker right
Yeah.
now. I mean, he had such a good season last year. I mean, he even beat Michigan in 2020. So I think it's even outrageous right now for the MSU fans to be, nitpicking at Mel Tucker. I mean, it just takes a while to build culture. It's a building process.
That's a great point. I think everyone can kind of look at their own respected organizations, their teams that they're fans of, and maybe take a little bit of a chill pill, I guess we can say.
Exactly.
Go easy on these coaches because they're going through a lot. They're going through a lot of stress. We'll talk about Mike Leach in a little bit and how possibly the stress of being a football coach, a college football coach especially, might have done him in. I mean, we don't want to say that for certain, but I mean, it had to be a contributing factor. You look at some of those post-game interviews with Mike Leach there towards the end, he doesn't look too well. So you can make those connections, you can make those similarities, you can make those matchups based on facts and what they've experienced. So it's by no means an easy task to manage a D1 college football team. Power 5, it's crazy to see all these coaches that have been through there and have done the things that they've done. And, even Saban's got to be going through a little bit of adversity, something they're not really used to in Alabama and Tuscaloosa. So everybody deals with it. Everyone has those trials and tribulations. But to bring it back to full circle for Harbaugh, he went through those trials and tribulations. He had all that adversity that he had to face head on. And he's dealt with it. He stuck it out even when, teams in the NFL were saying, hey, maybe Harbaugh might come back to the NFL.
Mhm.
No, he stuck it out through the thick and thin, and he's still there at the helm in Michigan. So kind of a success story, I would say. I think the cherry on top would be Michigan going all the way. And even a bigger cherry on top would be them beating Ohio State in the final game. I don't know if that's a pipe dream or not, but I'm telling you what, I'd love to see it.
That's one of those things as a Michigan fan, and talking about, we've got all this talk right now about the expansion of the playoffs and what will that do to conference championship games, and talking about eliminating the conference championship games for Michigan and Ohio State. That's a hot button topic right now because we're going to be the last game of the season. That's how it's going to be. We always want this build up. I mean, this year was one of maybe 3 years that both teams have come into the game undefeated and ranked top three. We want this, right? It's only going to get weird if we're going to play this game and then go back to back in the conference championship game without divisions, or if we're just going to go right into the college football playoff as if it never happened. So there's a lot riding on the changes that are coming up.
100%. Cody, you got any input there as far as the expansion and the possible division changes? At least we've seen it in the works in the SEC. We could see that bleed into the Big Ten. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's not if, it's just when it's going to happen at this point. And I mean, Georgia and Alabama, they played 3 times last year. So, hey,
Yeah.
there's no reason that we shouldn't have to, the Alabama and Georgia, they just need to play each other every year. And then they can, the rivalry might escalate to this caliber, but probably not.
100%. Let's move on. Let's talk about some of these bowl games we got coming up that are going to break the seal for bowl season. We got the Duluth Trading Cure Bowl between UTSA and Troy on the 16th at 3 p.m. That is tomorrow, a Friday. We're excited for that. It's going to break the seal for bowl week, bowl season, and that's a 1-point spread. I mean, the bettors have opportunities there. Am I going to bet that game? Probably not. Another bowl game, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, happening the 20th, is with Cody's Eastern Michigan Eagles against SJSU. And I think that's San Jose State University, the Trojans. Am I correct there?
You are indeed correct, sir. And a little
Boom.
fact for you, that is the only team that Eastern has a bowl victory over. So I think
Wow.
it's written in the stars for bowl victory number 2 to happen. I'm definitely betting the over in that game. 3 o'clock on a Tuesday, though. What else do you got to do? Christmas break, Christmas Eve is looming. Why not watch the Eastern Michigan Eagles play for a trophy full of potatoes? I mean, what else could you want? What are you going to do with those potatoes? I don't know. Chris Creighton's going to bake them, give them out to his team. Jose Ramirez, defensive lineman for the Eastern Michigan Eagles, was second in the nation for sacks this year. So he deserves a whole bowl of mashed potatoes and take it home to his family for Christmas dinner. But I'm going to be locked in. Bet the over for both these games. The Duluth Trading Bowl and the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, the over.
Wow. Bet the over. You heard it here first, guys, on the GCP. Cody Almasy, bet the over. 57 points in the UTSA Troy game and 54.5 for Eastern Michigan against San Jose State in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Now, Sam, let me ask you this. Do you got any insight on either of these bowl games or any of the sub bowl games that aren't, BCS bowls, as we'd previously call them? Any insight on bowl season?
Specifically for the Idaho Potato Bowl, I'm with you, Cody. I want to take the over on that game. I think it's going to be a big difference for both of these defense coming in and playing on blue turf. I think it's going to be a big mix-up for them. I think it's going to be definitely an air raid for both teams. Eastern started clicking really well at the end of the year as far as scoring. Eastern's really always had their offense. Kind of defense has been a lot of their struggles over the last few years. I see this one as a shootout. I see a high-scoring game here. I'm with you. I take the over.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, Eastern actually they play on a different colored field as well, but it's a gray field,
They
so
do. It's
a
just not
little bit
blue.
different. Yeah, yeah. The blue field's going to be an interesting dynamic. I'm excited to be going from gray to blue.
That gray field is one ugly field.
Oh man, it's the factory. It's not supposed to be pretty. It's a blue collar town. The
I know.
factory, man, it's just ugly. That's what we are. You in Ann Arbor, you guys are the pretty, smart ones. We're the hardworking, go to work guys.
Hey, I did go to Eastern for 2 years though, so
It's a
may,
stepping stone for a lot of
maybe I
people.
got a little bit of skin in this game. But yeah,
There you
well,
go.
let's say the gray turf gives them a little bit of a step over San Diego State there, or
Yeah.
San Jose State.
San
There.
Jose,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes,
They
sir.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to say about different colored fields. I know it's kind of hard from a viewing perspective to watch a lot of Boise State football just
Brutal.
because of that blue field. I mean, I like it. It looks cool. But as far as, the contrast between, a lot of times they're wearing their blue jerseys on the blue field, it gets a
Should be
little bit
illegal.
tough. I mean, it might be a tactic from the Boise State locker room, but either way you slice it, it's a little bit tough on the eyes. But maybe that's a popular opinion. Maybe it's not. Have to do a poll on it. So yeah, we're excited about bowl season. Bowl season is upon us, and we're excited. We can't express our excitement any more than telling you and screaming it from the rooftops. So we're excited. These guys are excited, and there's going to be some betting opportunities out there because these teams, if they're not in contention, and a lot of these guys are, some of them are seniors, some of them are getting drafted. A lot of these guys are coming back, so they're going to be playing this game to win. To have a bowl game win under your belt is a huge accomplishment. It's almost like a conference championship in a weird way.
Yeah.
So you're going to see these teams fighting. They're going to be playing hard, and there's going to be opportunities out there for everybody.
Especially for these guys not coming back. I mean, this is their last chance. They want to
That's
put
true.
on a show, leave it all out on the field. So there's a lot of opportunity for great games here coming up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity for awkward situations as well, like
Yeah.
the Cincinnati Louisville Bowl coming up. Louisville's head coach is going to be coaching for Cincinnati
Yeah.
next year, and so there a little bit of weird feelings going on. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl coming on
Yeah.
on Saturday. Scatterfield, that's his name. He's headed to Cincinnati, which
Yeah.
is going to allow for Jeff Brom to come into Louisville. The begotten son there is going to take off from the Big Ten and return to the ACC. And yeah, it just provides a lot of unique situations that you're never going to get to see anywhere else, especially in, these appetizer bowls is what I like to call them, where you don't got players opting out for NFL draft or that type of deal. Players are just, like you said, leaving it all out there. And it's a sight to behold.
It is indeed. We're excited for it. College basketball. So as everybody knows, on the GCP, once college football is behind us and we've shed our tears and we've had our time to mourn, we move on and we pick ourselves up from the dust and we move on to college basketball. And that's something that we have to do. It's a rite of passage every time we reach the new year, really. I mean, we reach the new year, they have the college football championship game, and then we move on. We don't forget about college football. It always hold a special place in our hearts until that first kickoff there in early fall. But we move on to college basketball, and we're excited for it. We jump in head first with both feet. It's like jumping in the puddle with both feet. You don't know how deep it is, but you trust it, and you enjoy every moment of it, from the first tip, which we're already past that now, but we're getting into the thick of it, conference play, all the way through the final tip and final buzzer in March Madness. So Cody, can you give me a college basketball catch up and kind of give us insight into what we can expect to see come the new year? And we'll be teasing a lot of college basketball here in the GCP in the leading up weeks, but it's not the main focus right now, but we're still going to touch on it. Go ahead, Codes.
Yeah, you get your first little taste, Thanksgiving in the background. You got some TVs on at the family's house, and you see a little college basketball on, and then you forget about it a little bit until Christmas time when you got some more tourneys starting to be played, and then all of a sudden these teams have 10, 15 games under their belt, and March is going to be here before you know it. So lots of things can change, but there are some trends and teams that are starting to emerge that will bear some significance in those later months of the season. Got some undefeated teams. Purdue sitting at number one right now in the Big Ten, 10-0. Edie, the big guy, is looking great, scooping up everything off the glass and putting it back. A lot of people didn't know if they were going to be as good without Jaden Ivey now with the Detroit Pistons, but they're not skipping a beat. Actually, looking a little bit better this year and looking to make a run. Virginia, a great story after that whole school dealt with that tragedy with the football team, but the whole school and community felt it. That team is 8-0, make a run of their own. UConn 11-0. We know their basketball team, women's basketball team, is always one or two in the country, but their men's team is looking great this year for the first time in a few years. And Kansas, they won it all last year. They're 9-1. Only loss is to Tennessee, another basketball powerhouse, and just a few other teams really starting to show really promise. But like I said, it is early. Last year at this time, Michigan was still ranked, MSU unranked, and they both made decent NCAA tournament runs. Michigan during the season last year couldn't put together 2 wins at a time. It was like a loss, a win, a loss, a win, and they make a run into the Sweet 16. So, if your team's having some early struggles, don't get too disheartened. But it's time to start locking in, and that's what we're going to be doing here on the Gin College Podcast.
Sam, let me ask you this. Do you have any high hopes, any high anticipations? I can't say that word. Anticipations towards the college basketball season? Anything we're looking forward to? Anything that we're looking out for? Teams that maybe showed out that we expected to be good, but maybe aren't as strong as we thought they were going to be. Rising star teams like Alabama. I hate to say that. I almost puke when I say that. But Alabama's got a hell of a basketball team. I thought they were a football school. So anything like that you're looking for that will have opportunity to look further into, and maybe some of these teams might be able to make a deep run in March. Any teams?
Yeah, Alabama's definitely a team like you just said. It's, I think a lot of people are overplaying their two loss season here, and there's too many rumors going around about Saban. That's ridiculous. They're not a basketball school. they're still a football school, but hell, they've got a great basketball team right now. Last year they did well. My focus is more always going to be on the Big Ten. I'm excited for January. We get a lot of Big Ten play there. We're going to see what these teams are made of. Right now, I mean, my Michigan boys, a little shaky. Cody, like you said, last year we were struggling to put 2 wins together. I got a little nervous this year when we played Eastern. Amani Bates tore us up. I thought to myself, I said, man, if I can get Eastern Michigan to win the conference right now, I'll take that. Good thing I didn't.
Yeah, good
thing I didn't. But no, I mean, that's really what I'm looking forward to is come January, let's see the conference play. Let's see what these teams are made of. As far as a team that I am shocked about, I'd say North Carolina. I expected a lot more out of North Carolina. I'm stunned to see what they've done so far. Maybe they could still turn it around. Maybe they do well in conference play come January and they make a March Madness run, but we'll see. Right now, it's not looking too good for them.
Yeah, I have a little soft spot between both teams we just mentioned, North Carolina and Alabama, and in the Phil Knight Invitational there, and unbelievable what happened. And I actually took that. So I'm an official. I officiate, sub-varsity, high school, and middle school, and I do some, other reffing. But I have some really good mentors, some guys that are really, they know their stuff. They ref, collegiate level basketball and whatnot. And I asked him about that play. I painted the picture, the scenario for him, and he said that should have never been called back if it was, indisputable or not indisputable to overturn on the replay. And obviously having replay and having reviews and things of that nature, they're going to affect the game in a way that is almost it's not human. It's not a human element, but it's a different third element that is it introduces a different aspect and different mentality to the game, especially from an officiating perspective. So, but yeah, you mentioned North Carolina there. They're showing us a lot of weakness that we didn't see last year, that we didn't expect to see, and they're carrying a lot of that they when they went out last year in the March Madness tournament, they carried a lot of that weakness into this season, and I'm seeing that. So they're gonna have to clean their act up. They're gonna have to figure it out if they want to get better and make a serious run this year. But I think a lot of these teams are going to get humbled. A lot of these good teams have been humbled, and the college basketball landscape is wide open right now. It's still kind of molding itself into, and every team, I would say every team, like you said, come January, once we get conference play, we're going to see what these teams are made of. They're going to have their trials and tribulations hopefully behind them, and they're going to be settling in to a mentality and a playing style that they feel comfortable with. So we have nothing to do but wait for that and see how these teams settle in. If they do, then they will do well. If they don't, then they will not do well. So it's pretty much as simple as that.
Yeah, real quick on Amani Bates and the Eastern Michigan Eagles, that Michigan game, I was in attendance, and I really thought that was like going to be a great measuring stick, because like saying I would have took them to win the MAC right then as well.
Yeah.
Amani drops 30 in LCA, and it just looked like it was going to be a really fun year. I have to write articles about the Eastern Michigan basketball team often and cover their performances on a Eastern Michigan affiliated podcast, and it's not as much fun as I thought it was going to be as so far. And Amani, he's showing some NBA abilities, but it is not translating to team success. And I don't know if it's him, the locker room, or maybe something going on with coaching and Stan Heath there, because he's got a lot of talent and not a lot to show for it. But that's all we're going to talk about as in the basketball situation in Ypsilanti for now.
I got to ask you, Cody, I mean, are they relying too much on Amani Bates? Because we've seen it happen before. We've seen it with Luka in Dallas in the NBA there, and you can't depend. I mean, we've seen it Kenneth Walker, Michigan State football. You can't depend on one player that much or too much and expect to have longevity in any sense of the word, whether you're playing through the season, going into conference play, playing random trash teams, West Virginia Tech, teams like that. You got to be able to count on your players, count on your bench, and you can't just count on one player. I guess, is that an issue that they're facing in Eastern, or would you say it's something else?
It's definitely one of the issues. I mean, sometimes he starts the first half 1 for 7 from 3-point range, and I mean, they're gonna need to rely on him to score often, because he's him one. They got a guy, Noah Farrakhan, an awesome, super talented point guard who can also score, but then it kind of drops off from there. But when you're not moving the ball around and you're just taking a contested deep three without really getting the ball going or looking for your teammates, it's not going to work out. And any team they play, they're circling Amani Bates' name, and these guys are going to try to have their best night playing against him, because the reporters have come to talk to Amani Bates, the guy who's trying to go play in the NBA. So he's got to figure out a way to get these other guys inspired and figure out an identity for that team, because they definitely have no identity.
Makes a lot of sense. They're going to have to figure it out if they want to have a successful season, still have time, still early in the season, so they have a chance, but they got to buckle in and figure out some of those issues, sounds like. Good deal. Good deal. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Let's do some final statements, and then we'll get you guys out of here and look forward to next week. We'll start with Cody, and then we'll go Sam, and then I'll give the closing statement.
Just go Eagles on Tuesday. Going to be locked in for the Potato Bowl. Gonna be wearing my green and white, colors I don't normally sport that day, and you guys should too. And remember,
hey, the only colors, man.
Bet the over. Bet the
over.
The
only colors right there.
Yeah. What colors are in the CFP? I don't think there's any green or white.
Hey, we're gonna talk about. Don't change the subject. Sam, what do you got for the people?
I would just tell the people, if you're if you're sick of pretending like you care about the World Cup that much, get excited for the bowl season here. I can't wait for it. We kick off tomorrow morning at 11:30, I believe, and then we got another one coming up at 3. I'll be watching both of them. Don't tell my boss, but I'll have them on here while I'm working. And
Attaboy.
it'll be that way through the end of bowl season. I can't get enough of this. Once we get to the end of the national championship game, I think for maybe a couple days, I'll think, I'm footballed out. I'll probably turn that right around when we get to the NFL playoffs. I'll be excited again. And, as soon as it's over, it's over. And all we'll be able to do is talk about all summer, the training camps and transfer portal. So enjoy it while it lasts.
100% enjoy it while it's here. We know this better than anybody that the college football season especially, it comes and goes in a blur. And if you don't sit there and enjoy it for a while, it's going to go past you. It's going to fly past you without you even knowing. And I think some of us are experiencing that right now since we're already in bowl season. People are like, oh, how are we already here? Hey, life moves fast, man. You don't step around. You don't, sit right there and enjoy it and smell the flowers for a little bit. It's going to fly past you. And that's a perfect explanation of it and how fast time moves. Just looking at the college football season. So good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials. All the socials are in the bottom of the podcast, in the link tree, and in the description of this podcast and the show that will be posted in video form on YouTube. Make sure to go to our website for all of our articles, IG posts, etc., ginsportsnetwork.com, and we'll be in touch with you guys very soon. Enjoy bowl season. Enjoy college football while it's here, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.